Again, one of the things that the continent have been exposed to is the fact that with these governance systems, with the trading systems imposed as a result of globalization, I believe our elders sitting here can tell us about the structural adjustment plan introduced by the IMF and the World Bank. It has been one of the greatest or the biggest instrument used by the outsiders to make Africa as a continent less developed, poor continent, less appreciative of thinking and policies, and as well as grassroots initiatives. The structural adjustment plan have impoverished all African countries in the sub-Saharan region by making them prioritize their spending on things that are beneficial to the Western markets and to the Western politicians. Again, not only that, but today we feel happy to be with brands that are Western and of Western values than our own. And this is as a result of the trade that we have ventured in. One thing also that is certain, the misunderstanding of the ideologies that we embrace, the misunderstanding of the religions that we belong to today, the rejection of our own traditional spirituality have resulted into a disunity along the continent, and in this, young people are affected the most. As we are sitting here discussing about the future of the continent as young individuals, there are a group of young Africans in somewhere looking at another African as a threat. And if they have the chance to take their life, they will do so. And these are the same individuals that we need if we want to move ahead by transforming their minds and thinking into solutions and understanding that Africa as a continent needs to prosper as any other continent in the world. Again, we have to understand that as young people, sometimes we are trapped with the notion that we are young, so therefore we cannot act now. We have to wait. The question is, what and who are we waiting for? We have to think good in ourselves. We have to start appreciating Africa as a continent. We have to start thinking solution and meeting in occasions like this to have a dialogue, intergenerational dialogue, dialogues across the continent as young people in developing solutions that holds the fact that Africa is not a threat to herself, but we are a force that needs to work together to register the development that our continent desires. Today, in so many instances, we've seen global partners, big companies, coming down to the continent, exploring our own resources, using our own individuals as agents and as instruments to dominate our societies. And this is a living proof. Torado and Smith in development economics make mention of the comparator groups, that the white man don't have to travel the interior of Africa to extract resources any longer. They just need a young African programmed to do that work on their behalf. We have to understand that we are graduating engineers, we are graduating lawyers, we are graduating doctors, we are graduating individuals who should serve the interests and purpose of their communities. But today, a huge chunk of that graduates are the people that we're seeing sinking in the Mediterranean Sea. These are the same young women that we see in Arab countries being exploited and taken as modern-day slaves. These are the same individuals that the continent needs to harvest their talents and potentials in making sure that we can register the development that we desire as a continent. But again, saying all this as a problem in the continent, are there no solutions? Someone may ask. The young people are the agents of change, and they are the individuals that our ancestors and our old systems have tapped in order to make sure that they have registered success in their own development. They are apt, prolific, they are with disruptive mindset and thinking. The same young people are individuals that have the potentials to drive change and to drive growth among the continent. They are the innovators, they are the leaders, they are the workers, so therefore young people are the future. But that future starts now. Few weeks ago, I was reading an article by a famous scholar by the name Jeffrey Sachs, and I was made to understand that he was the graduation lecturer last year. In this very document, Blood in the Sand, he used to highlight the U.S. intervention, military intervention in the developing countries, that it has come to root and it has exposed its weakness and not potentials by the U.S. government. But what we need to identify and draw lessons in this, and he highlighted, was our investments must be diversified into things that are meaningful. Investment in education, and I mean real education, with potentials, with skills, and provide a ground for African youths to exhibit their talents within the continent. Again, investment in the health sector. Our mothers, our sisters, our young brothers need help and need attention. And they need us. So we therefore have to channel our skills in these very societies in making sure that we can give them the development and the need that they have. However, when we look at the continent, to some, it may seem impossible to fix it. It is not yet impossible. We, the youths, have to take responsibilities. And to do that, we must start questioning. We must start questioning as young people. Questioning the political system. Questioning the education system. Questioning our social livelihood and being part of the solution. The world where these things have happened, things have also been questioned, so we must question. The violence against black people is a manifestation everywhere, in Europe, in the Americas, and in the continent. The fact that the black man becomes black only when they are in contact with the white man is sometimes bearable, but really painful. And the white man becoming white only when they are in Africa is painful, but then it comes with all the accorded privileges that we give them. I know because I've been traveling across the continent, and I see privileges where individuals deliberately ignore brothers and sisters as a result of their color and appreciate individuals just by their appearance. And this we must look into. We must start to appreciate ourselves. We must start to build respect, love, and unity among ourselves. But again, we have to be ready to unite ourselves, to make sure that as young people, this is not just for us to come and take selfish gain or selfish interest, but a cause that we must stand to liberate the continent, because we are the hope. And if we don't get it right this time, Africa can never make it. Before, it was colonialist, economic systems. Now we have technology just on the side. We must be skillful, we must develop potentials, but we must be patriotic enough to save the trajectory for the African continent. And to do this, we must forget about our selfish gain. It is a cause out there that we must undertake. We must liberate this generation of Africa and generations of Africans to come. They don't deserve what we have experienced. And to save that, to build that, we must be the agents of change. And we have to be ready. And I will therefore want to put this question to all of us here today, that if we leave this particular hall, we are going as ambassadors. We are here as ambassadors of our own homes. We are here as ambassadors of our own institutions. And we are here as ambassadors of our own villages, our own towns, our own cities. We have to be ambassadors of Nigeria. We have to be ambassadors of Africa, because we are the eyes and ears of the continent. And whoever sees us should see Africa. Whoever sees us should see unity, should see respect, and should see dignity across the board. This is a message that I want all of us to think and also to make actions towards. Again, one thing that I will also like to appeal is for us to understand that Africans have sacrificed a lot. Africa had leaders that have outshined any other people in the world. We can take examples of leaders in the continent that have stand for the interests of their people. If we want to move ahead as young people, we must look into these great individuals and take them as references. We are tired of talking about the problems. Let us see examples among African leaders and build on that for the future of the continent. We cannot all be politicians, but we can all impact positive change in our communities. And that is an individual responsibility that every African can undertake. Most of us remember the great Pan-Africanists like Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was not in Africa. He was fighting for Africa in Europe and in America, but fighting for African descent to be able to come back and reunite with their people. His main mission was self-upliftment and self-reliance. We must be able to uplift ourselves financially, but we must be able to uplift ourselves with dignity, with respect, with values, that Africa is Africa, and Africans are the individuals who live within it, and Africans are the solution to their own problems. Another thing that is very certain before I take a leave of you is the fact that today when we look across the board in the continent, we see a lot of issues happening with young people. And if we really want to be the solution to the continent, we must rethink about ourselves. We must be ready to take up challenges, and we must be ready to learn lessons. It doesn't matter where you were born, as long as you were born within the continent or hold an African blood. Patriotism, dedication to work, is a living reality and a living testimony of the African tradition. Individuals who live within this continent were great people who stood and fight for their people. And that is what we need to embrace today as young people. We have to take the course. We must not narrow our academic lenses to the curriculums. We have to read wider than that. We have to investigate. We have to make research. We have to find grounds to learn about our culture. It was the great Nigerian scholar Chinua Achebe who said, "History will always glorify the hunter unless and until the lions have their own historians." And if we really want to move ahead as a continent, we must be ready to take up the challenge in rewriting our history. Africa is categorized as an underdeveloped continent. We are categorized as an uncivilized continent. But one thing that remains certain is every other society in the world depends heavily in Africa in order to survive. As I walk around the streets, as we drove around Nigeria, all I see is great potentials. These are the same potentials that outsiders are trying to tap away from us. And to do that, they just have to make us less appreciative on who we are and what we can do about our own. From today, let us channel our skills into using the resources in the continent into something beneficial to our societies and to something beneficial to our people. That is what the African values teaches. Individuals were not just responsible to their individual interests or make decent living for themselves, but your success in the continent is measured based on your impact on your community. This is what our ancestors taught us. And this is the lessons that we must relearn as Africans. Before we leave this place, I want to say one thing. There is a society out there waiting for us because they are disunited. They're having an issue solving a particular dispute. There is another society out there waiting for us because there is poverty. Individuals are finding it difficult to have 3 meals a day and even 2 meals a day. There is a society out there waiting for us because respect and dignity, morals and values are no longer in their area. This is the same society that waits for our answer. We have not been sent in schools for no reason. We are sent to learn, we are sent to appreciate, and we are sent to school to learn and go back and impact. We must be the solution. Africa must be liberated, and young people must take up the challenge because we are the solution. On that note, I thank you all for your kind attention.
That was very powerful message, very powerful speech from OUSMAN Toure. So brothers and sisters, you heard well the speech, and it speaks a lot of things. Let me know your thought in the comment section, what you think on his speech. And almost what he speak is true. And like for us, Africa, sometimes, and this generation, actually in this generation, we have a lot of people who speaks a very point that Africa, we need to do this and that. But on the other hand, you can see that always who speaks can't do. As the same way we say those who are in power, they have no ideas. And those who have ideas have no power. So brothers and sisters, as I said before, let me know your thought in the comment section.